Going for two, kickers are extra, I give them the boot. Ooh, going for two, sit back, relax while I grab me a brew. Ooh, now I'm reclining while putting my time and I'm ready to go. My spine is aligning and much my lineups, my bank account grow. I am so rich, but knowledge is all that I'm leaving it with. Ooh, listen to this, multiple options, how far can I get? Ooh, DFS Dynasty redraft tonight, I'm not finishing last. I'm finishing past any and all, I am looking to last. What else? This spot is popping and I am so locked in and only opening the door when it is opportunity knocking. And all of these spots keep on talking and talking. So what are we talking? What kind of alignment? And running it deep, even players forgotten or came from the bottom or hitting that top end. And this spot is popping, yeah, this spot is popping. And woo! This is the armchair, yeah. Put up your arms, yeah. Sound the alarm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Woo!
What is going on, guys, and welcome to episode 336 of the Armchair Fantasy Show. I am your host, of course, Jeff Lambert, and you can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. Of course, we are live here every Wednesday night on Facebook Live, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch, syndicated in all major podcast networks. And, of course, we're on the new Kick.com as well. You can go check us out on Kick.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe and like button when you're there on the YouTube channel. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Ryan Searfoss. What's up, Ryan?
Oh, I'm just enjoying the late start and glad we got Doc here. It's going to be a good night.
It's going to be a good night for sure.
If I don't fall asleep. So the guys be interesting.
Our next guest, you might know him from various of the Going for Two live shows, Mr. Jim Ferretti. He's an injury analyst for Going for Two. He's also the author of Injuries Suck, but your fantasy team doesn't have to. You can find that on Amazon, and you can find the doc on Twitter at TFSDoc. What's up, Jim?
Hey guys, I don't know what happened here. It's like the sun like just came out here and on my light here. I'm gonna change that.
Is it that Erie lamp?
Yeah, it's my seasonal effective light from when I went to medical school in Erie. But yes, it is good to be here, and it is my favorite time of year because this is when, like, we're all degenerates here. Like, we're in the dynasty. Like, football never stops for us. But this is the time of year where a lot of people that have maybe taken a hiatus, they've gotten into fantasy baseball, or they've taken some time away. They're coming back. They're doing their redraft leagues. Camp's going on. We're getting news every day. Injuries are happening. And this is what I really like to talk about and help people navigate their way through, like, all the injury waters. And that's what we're here to do tonight. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So let me quickly plug our sponsor. We're going to be talking about our sponsor pretty much all night because we're going to be using our sponsor's website tonight. But tonight's show, of course, is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Check out their best ball leagues with huge tournaments, private leagues, and pick them to every major sport. Sign up using our promo code GF2 and get a deposit match up to $100. It's as simple as that. Use promo code GF2 and start drafting your best ball teams, which we will be doing that tonight. We are going to draft a Underdog Best Ball League. And the doc is here to offer some injury analysis on some of the guys that get drafted tonight. We got a couple guys from Going for Two that are going to be joining us in the Underdog draft, and we'll go through that as we do that draft. And Doc, you're just going to kind of, as we go through this, you know, any players you want to jump in on. We got some injuries that happened today that didn't make it to the show sheet.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about them as well.
I'm ready for everything. Let's do it. Let's bring it on.
Good deal. First things first, as always, though, we do our nonsense draft. Let's go ahead and do that first.
Attention, everyone. Let's mock draft.
All right, today we are drafting worst superhero powers, and they could be real powers, they could be made up powers, they could be, you know, however you want to do this, we can do it. But Doc, as always, the guest goes first, so you got the 101 here.
All right, so truth be told, guys, this feels like a safe space. Like, I was never really into like comic books and superheroes when I was growing up. Obviously now, like, everybody's into Marvel Cinematic Universe, so I know some of that stuff, but I had to hit the internet and kind of try to find some like real bad superpowers. So I was thinking about it. I was like, I don't know, most of them seem like they could have some application, but I came upon some gems. So there's one, and this is an actual superhero, and his power apparently is from DC Comics. His name is Color Kid, and he can change the color of any object. Yeah. That's it.
So basically, on my list as well.
So basically, they got together and they said, let's come up with a guy who has the same superpower as the guy who runs the counter at your local Sherman-Williams. So that to me seems pretty basic. So that's going to be my 101 is you can change the color of anything. I struggle to see how that might be applicable. Like, oh, okay, you change the light red to green and you cause a car accident. I don't know. Like what? Like how do you use that? I don't know.
Yeah, there's no application for that at all. I guess if you change colors really fast, maybe it gives people like seizures.
Maybe give somebody a seizure. Yeah, why not? There you go. So that's something.
Yeah, that was on my list as well. I read that one. I was like, really? That's really a superhero power? Can't imagine how they would use that one. All right, I'm up at the 102 here, and I guess this one would have some sort of usefulness. I just don't know if I would want to be the one to have this usefulness because you're not going to have any friends. But the power of stench, just just being like a skunk and just smelling so awful that no one wants to be around you. I guess you can find some kind of use for that.
You can find some people like that under a bridge.
Yeah,
talk to my wife about that after I have a kale salad.
Yeah, I don't know. That one stood out to me because I mean, I don't know how you're gonna be part of an Avengers group if your power is just to really reek. But yeah, that was mine. There's a guy his name is Stench. That's literally his superhero name was Stench. So that's my 102. Ryan, you got the 103 here.
I'm going to the dude his power is actually super powerful, and like he is Black Bolt from the Inhumans, Illuminati. He can like level cities with his voice, but if he so much as whispers, he can kill a person, and I can't shut the fuck up. So I would be leveling cities and killing people by accident constantly, and it would suck.
Yeah, that's kind of like the Midas touch, right? You just turn things to gold. You think it's good in your head, and then you start doing it, and everything you touch turns to gold. It starts to end up being a curse after a while.
I would just be walking destruction by accident, and it'd suck.
For sure. All right, Jim, you're back up at the 104.
All right. So back to the list here. I found another one that I thought was really interesting. So DC Comics, they had some good ones, and they have this guy. His name is Matter Eater Lad. So not even Matter Eater Man, but Matter Eater Lad. So I don't know if he's like Canadian or he's British or whatever. But anyway, his teeth and jaws are strong enough allegedly to eat anything. So DC Comics got together and basically they let Joey Chestnut join the Legion of Heroes. And that's his superpower. So I mean, I guess that's something, but apparently I read a little bit more into it and they said that they found themselves like not really coming up with great ideas for him to use his power. So I figure, you're going to paint yourself into some creative corners with if that's your superpower.
Yeah, that was on my list as well. And the name is just terrible. I mean, Matter Eater Lad. That's just an awful name. All right, so I'm up at the 105, and this one actually made me laugh because I really didn't believe this was actually a real superhero. And then I actually read that he had a small part in the Suicide Squad movie that I've never watched. But his name, I guess, was shortened to TDK, which basically he's able to take off his arm and use it like a weapon. That's his weapon. That's his power. Pull your arm off and just swing it like a club. I don't know if that's really going to be doing a whole lot of anything. Like I said, apparently he's in the Suicide Squad movie as well. I've never watched that, but he had a small part in there as well. So TDK, the ability to take off your arm and use it as a weapon, just does not seem like very practical to me.
I literally was just about to go there.
Were you really?
Yeah,
he was on my list too.
All right, Ryan, you got the 106 here.
I don't even know if this dude has a power, but like it's a super villain whose entire persona is based around kites, and he flies around and controls kites. His name's Kite Man. Like, why?
So creative.
Why do you exist? Why would somebody want this power? Why? It's dumb. Kite Man, stop it.
Oh
It's
man,
like the worst name too. We should have like another segment for worst superhero names because Kite Man is just so uncreative.
Strikes fear into the heart of the city. Oh no, Kite Man's on the loose. All these kites are coming to get people. Yeah.
All right, Jim, this is your last pick here, the 107. What you got?
Okay, so this one I thought it was like it's marginal, but so apparently there's a guy. He was a member of the Great Lakes Avengers. So the Great Lakes, Ryan. We're talking about Erie. We're talking about the great northwestern Pennsylvania. So his power was he could transform himself into a door. So people could walk through him into an adjoining room. So I was like, all right, that might be useful. Like you get trapped somewhere, there's a fire or something. It's like, all right, I'll turn myself into a door. We can go through this wall. But he also had the power to transport people from one room to the other. But here's the catch. The rooms had to be adjoining. So if it was 2 rooms over, he couldn't do it. So could you imagine? It's just like, oh, I really want to get a beer. Hey, doorman, can you teleport me to the kitchen? Oh, sorry, man. The kitchen is 2 rooms over. I can't do it. If we were in the bathroom, I could, but
yeah.
So I think that's pretty bad.
That is pretty bad. Just 1 room over. That's
one room only. That's it. If it's 2 rooms, no good. There's a closet in the way. You're shit out of luck.
Yeah. All right. My last pick here. And I got a couple good ones still left on my list here, but I'm going to go with this one. Is the guy's name is Stone Boy. And he has the ability to turn into stone, which sounds like it could be cool because you could be almost indestructible as stone, except when he turns up to stone, he's completely immobile. He cannot move. So, like, what the hell's the point if you're just going to turn yourself into stone just to stand still? I don't get it. I don't know what his what he used it for, but yeah, Stone Boy, your superpower was pretty terrible. Ryan, go ahead and close us out here.
I wasn't gonna do this one. We talked about it right before Doc got on, but it's too funny. On the show The Boys, there's a man named Love Sausage, and he has this super strength to his tentacle extending penis, where he can choke people to death, bust through walls, and it never stops extending. It is not necessary.
Ryan, I heard that's what you did before you sold insurance. Is that any truth to that?
You don't
have to answer that. No comment.
I would have an OnlyFans. Let's be serious. I'd be making that real money.
Yeah, it looks like Josh in the chat. He saw that episode as well. Great show though. Yeah, I haven't watched it yet.
No, it was crazy.
I'm definitely going to check that one out.
I had to look up his name though because I did not know that.
All right, so what we're going to do tonight, like I mentioned, we're going to be doing a best ball draft. As soon as Ryan jumps in the best ball draft, it'll start up, and we'll go ahead and get drafting here.
I'm jumping in now?
Yeah, go ahead and jump in now. We'll try to get through a bunch of these guys. I got a list of 21 names, but we can get to more as we go through. We'll try to get through as much as possible.
I'm just excited to get this free $27 prize. Thank you guys. That's dope.
Let me go ahead and bring up the draft board here. I think there is a countdown. I should have had you start a little bit.
Yeah, Jeff, you should have riffed a little bit. Tell us something interesting.
Yeah, so
we got a little time here. So one thing that I love about Underdog, our sponsor Underdog, but it's a great site, and it really helps you work out those muscles for your drafts, because you got to use your imagination. You got to kind of create these narratives as you're building these teams. It's like, okay, well, if this happens and this guy gets hurt, like who benefits? And you start kind of creating these stories as you build your teams. It's like, okay, I don't think this guy's going to be good. I think this guy's going to be good. And if he's good, then this guy will probably be good. And you kind of piece it together. And I think that's really useful, because I think people get stuck in their pre-draft process where they're like, everybody's healthy, and they say things like, oh, I don't think this guy's going to do anything because he doesn't have a path to playing time. Well, this is the NFL. Everybody has a path to playing time because guys get hurt all the time. How many people got hurt in practice today? Like 3 or 4? Like one guy's out for the year, another guy's out for a few weeks, another guy's getting surgery like tomorrow, and like he was fine 2 days ago. Like, football's a dangerous sport. Guys are going to get hurt. There's going to be opportunities.
Absolutely.
Jeff, you're about to get auto pick, bud.
So am I already on the clock?
Oh, there we go. So, yeah, you got 9 seconds left.
There we go. That was an easy pick.
There you go.
Justin Jefferson right there at the top.
So, other things you guys want to think about is like when you're making a pick and somebody's hurt, what's the acquisition cost and what's the opportunity cost? So what kind of draft capital do I have to spend on this injured player, and who am I passing up potentially to take that injured player? So always keep that in the back of your mind. And, that's really like where to start with it. So using your imagination, kind of creating these narratives about if somebody were to get hurt, who benefits? Like, who's going to be better as a result of this? And who's going to get the playing time, who's going to get the opportunity, and what is going to cost to get. And the less it costs you in draft capital, the more interested you should be. It's a lot more challenging to take a guy who might miss 2, 3, 4 weeks, during the year to start the year in the first, second, third round than it does in the 10th, 11th, 12th round.
Yeah, exactly. And there's one player that went on. We're here real quick, and I want to ask you about him because you've said this a couple times on multiple shows that you're only injured until you're not.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey, obviously, had 2 seasons where he was basically injured all the time. And going into last season, it was all about being injury prone. And now that he played a full season, it's like we forgot about all the injuries all of a sudden. Now he's like going in the top, part of the draft again. What are your thoughts on Christian McCaffrey and his quote unquote injury prone label that we've somehow forgotten about?
Well, I don't know if he ever was injury prone. I think it was kind of recency bias is more like the issue. So last year, even coming off the injury, I was in a league with Stephania Bell, and we took him first overall, even though he was coming off the injury. So I think he still has the same potential to be that rock solid, like RB1 who gets all the catches, gets goal line, is going to look really good in that offense, but he's still a running back, and running backs get hurt. So he could do well, he could do poorly. If you think about last year, Jonathan Taylor was the one who was supposed to be the safe pick, and McCaffrey was supposed to be the risky pick. Well, it didn't quite work out that way. McCaffrey stayed healthy, and he crushed, and Jonathan Taylor got hurt, and everybody that you drafted him, first overall or second overall or whatever, got left with empty pockets.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to figure out how to go get the draft board up here. Not this. I can do it on my phone, but I can't figure out how to do it on the. Let's see. Is this it? Maybe.
Click on board.
Yeah, it's not up there though. I don't see it on my desktop screen.
That. Oh, I'm on the clock. You just ruin this for me, Jeff. Thanks.
Sorry about that. I can get it on my phone. I just can't get it on the desktop. I like to see the draft board because I want to be able to recap it. I guess I have to do it from my phone here. So let's go through that first round. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Christian McCaffrey were the top three. Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and then Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp's one I wanted to talk to you about a little bit, Doc.
Yeah.
He's dealing with the hammy injury. Obviously, people are nervous. He had an injury last year, comes back, gets a hammy injury. What are your thoughts? Is this a result of what happened last year?
I mean, I don't think so. I think, it's football. Guys can pull their hamstrings. So he got hurt on August 1st. I expect him to miss about a month with this. They're probably just going to hold him out for the rest of the preseason. I think there's some mild elevated injury risk, but it's not really enough to scare me at all. I'm even seeing him get pushed up in some cases prior to his injury where people were taking him second overall. And if they wanted to do that, I wouldn't fault them because he still has that triple crown ceiling where everybody else on that offense does nothing. Cooper Kupp gets all of the opportunity share and basically crushes again, even with the Rams not being that good this year, if that's the case. So I'm not really scared of him at all.
They're going to stink so bad. They're going to throw the ball so much.
That's what I mean. I mean, the Super Bowl was like that. They just kept peppering him with targets the whole game. Everybody in the stadium knew it was going to him, and they couldn't stop it.
Yep.
It's a 600 pass attempt team if all are
healthy. Yeah, if Stafford's healthy, I agree. And I think Stafford's a pretty sneaky super flex pick as well. You can get him pretty late. I think he's going to be a decent play as well as a QB2. All right, I'm up on the clock here, so let me make my pick here, and then we'll talk about some of the other guys that just went. Let's see. I'm going to go with my boy DK Metcalf, and you know what? I'll take the first quarterback off the board, and I'll go with Patrick Mahomes.
You really had to ruin my stack, you.
All right, so I got the board up there now. So the second round, again, this is only a 16 league, so this is technically still in the first round of a regular league. But Nick Chubb, Amon-Ra, CeeDee Lamb, Bijan Robinson, A.J. Brown, Stephon Diggs. No real injury concerns there as far as those guys. And then in the third round, we got Saquon Barkley, another guy that we kind of forgot about, quote unquote, being injury prone that we've just kind of been drafting as he's going to be healthy. Garrett Wilson, Austin Eckler, Jalen Waddle, Tony Pollard, and Derrick Henry. I know Waddle and Wilson have both had some soft tissue injuries in camp so far.
Yeah.
Thoughts on either one of those guys? I think Wilson's back. Waddle's still sort of sitting out.
Yeah, Garrett Wilson, there was a little bit of worry initially that, whenever you have an ankle, you worry, is it a low ankle sprain or is it other? And other includes a high ankle sprain and a mid ankle sprain, which is just a nice way of saying a high ankle sprain. So there's low and there's other, but it was a low ankle sprain. So he's already back. Usually that's a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks max. So not really concerned there at all. Jalen Waddle's got me a little concerned because they're saying the H word a lot. They're saying hope. Like, we hope he's going to be back. We hope he's going to be okay. And that always gives me a little bit of trepidation. So I'm not really sure what the injury is, but, there are muscles in the abdomen, around with the hip, the muscles in the abdomen itself. If you tear one of those, it can recur and it can keep you out for a while. So he's just somebody that, I've kind of backed off on a little bit, especially given the fact that he's going in, 12-team leagues to go in the second round, or at least he was. So that acquisition cost way too high for me, given, again, acquisition cost high, opportunity cost. What do you got to give up? A lot of other great players there that you're missing out on. So I'm definitely backing off of Jalen Waddle if he's going in the second round.
What about you, Ryan? I know you like Waddle a lot. Are you worried about this injury that he has? Are you still drafting him pretty high?
I mean, yes, no. I mean, he's someone I'm protect, but more or less Waddle, I'm more concerned about his week-to-week hit or miss because he's fairly boom or bust on a week-to-week basis for fantasy. That's more my concern. So he's somebody I want to get with more consistent players. But being this is his best ball and small, I'm just going for dudes who are going to hit for the most this year. And if he misses a few weeks, he misses a few weeks. I'm going heavy on receiver early, anyways.
Yeah, I've been going heavy receiver as well. I got auto picked on the Amari Cooper while I was asking that question. I don't know if I was thinking Amari Cooper there.
That's a good pick.
And Josh's comment about me not taking my homes, I had 3 rounds to draft him. I'm not reaching on a quarterback in a 16 league. That's freaking insane. Let's be honest.
$27 is $27, my friend.
$27. You get a ZJ for that.
Let's recap the 4th round here. DK Metcalf, Ramondre Stevenson, Chris Olave, Jonathan Taylor, Devonta Smith, Mark Andrews. Ryan, I want to ask you about Ramondre Stevenson because he's been in the news, obviously, because they just signed Dalvin Cook. I'm sorry, they signed Zeke. What are your thoughts on that situation with Zeke being there?
Honestly, I think it's kind of a good thing. The Patriots weren't going to just pound him for 250 carries anyways. They are they talk a lot about his pass catching ability because he did very well in that last year. And the running back being involved in passing is big in New England. I think that's going to be a big part of his game, especially with that receiving core who there were beat writers who described it as bad, and worse or something like that. So I'm still in on him. I think he's going to hover around that RB12 range, like 9 to 15. I'm comfortable with him any of those areas. I'm on clock. Just distracting me again.
That's part of that's his game.
My game right there. Yeah, so with Ramondre, I'm high on Ramondre this year, and I think that Zeke, every team right now, I think has the political committee. So I don't know if it really hurts Ramondre. It might actually help him keep him healthier, keep him on the field.
So it's a low-end committee.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not too worried about Zeke. Yeah, Zeke probably gets a few touchdowns that maybe go to Ramondre, but I don't think it hurts him in the overall sense. And Ramondre is still getting the pass down work, so I think he's gonna be fine.
Yeah, and again, the thing you got to think about is that when Zeke is there, like at least some people out there, it's going to depress his price because they're like, oh, Zeke's there now, I'm not so high on him or whatever. Well, again, let's play the game. What if Zeke gets hurt? What if Zeke, pulls his hammy and he's out for a month? Now Ramondre Stevenson's essentially got the backfield to himself, just like we thought. You bought him at a depressed price. Now he's a rock solid RB1. That's what happened last year when Damian Harris was there, and we already saw that he could crush with somebody else there. Now, if you remove him from the backfield, now you really got something. So I think that's another way to think about it is like we're assuming that Zeke is going to be there and be healthy the whole year. It's probably a decent chance just by him being a running back that he's going to miss at least 2 to 4 games. So you gotta work out the calculus there too.
Yeah, good call. So in that same round, there's a guy that we could probably dedicate an entire show to. We're going with his holdout and his whole thing with his contract, but Mr. Jonathan Taylor. Also dealing with some injuries too. And then I heard today he had a personal issue that he had to go away from camp. As far as injuries go, Doc, what are your thoughts on Jonathan Taylor? You think he's healthy for week 1, assuming that he's going to be even on the field for week 1? Is he healthy?
Yeah, I think he's healthy. I think all this stuff with injuries is kind of the same thing we saw with J.K. Dobbins, where it's like he's, rehabbing his ankle. It's like he doesn't want to be there. He's having contract issues. He's kind of at war with the team, and they're trying to, out leverage each other. So this is all essentially, I don't really think there's any lingering effects from his ankle injury from last year. If they signed him to a 5-year, $90 million contract, I think all of a sudden his ankle issues would, evaporate.
So my injuries.
Yeah. So I don't know if he's going to be there for week 1 because I'm more worried about, does he get traded or does he hold out? Like this is getting really ugly, but I'm not worried about him from an injury perspective. If you airdrop him onto another team and he's going to play, I'm very, very happy with Jonathan Taylor being my starting running back.
Yeah, Ryan, are you buying Taylor at a discount in some of your leagues? You trying to get him at cheap right now?
I literally went through every league I'm in and sent low ball offers for him in every single league I'm in. I finished the podcast the one night, and after we talked about it, I sent out at least 8 offers out for him.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
That's the way to do it for sure. All right, so let's go to the 5th round. We got Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Calvin Ridley, T. Higgins, Jameer Gibbs, Josh Allen. No real injury concerns there, but there is one guy in the list that I want you to talk about, Doc, a little bit. Jameer Gibbs going, top 12 in the draft. He's a smaller guy, and we've seen it in the past where these smaller guys can't stay healthy. Detroit's done it a couple times with different running backs. Any concern there with his height and size being, getting a full workload here in the NFL?
I think that the fact that they spent the draft capital on him that they did, I feel like they're going to use him in some way. So it may not be somebody that they're going to pound in between the 20s, but if you have Jameer Gibbs, you don't really want that. You want him to catch passes. You want him around the goal line. And I think that's what they're going to utilize him for. And so if that happens, he doesn't need to carry the ball, 250 times in order to pay off. And I think he can be really productive. So I'm not super concerned about it. I mean, look at the camp highlights from Deuce Vaughn. Deuce Vaughn is smaller than I am, and I am not a large man. And he's looking pretty good out there. So if he can do it, I think Jameer Gibbs certainly can do it.
Yeah, I saw that camp tape, and I legit thought someone had photoshopped in like a toddler because he just looked like he was so small compared to everybody else. And he had that, that camp helmet.
Yeah, the big helmet.
I was like, what in the hell? And then I realized it actually was him. I was like, oh my God, this guy is so small.
Those helmets remind me of the old school NBA Jam games where you can make the guys' heads be really big.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it looks like to me. I'm dating myself with that reference, but go for everybody here that's younger than 35, go Google that when you get a chance.
God, I love that game.
Yeah, that was a great game for sure. All right.
Javonte Williams just went, Doc.
What's that?
I said Javonte Williams went. What's your thoughts with him?
So if you would have asked me a couple of months ago about Javonte Williams, I would have had a different answer because I was like, this is a complex tear. It's kind of like J.K. Dobbins all over again. They might say he's going to be ready and then he's not. And, maybe he needs a cleanup and blah, blah, blah. So he tore his ACL and his LCL, which is what makes it a complex tear. You throw the LCL on top, that extends, it makes it a more complicated surgery, more complicated recovery. He did that in October of 2022. He's about 10 months out right now, and week 1 is 11 months post-injury. They didn't put him on the PUP. I was almost positive they were going to put him on the PUP to start the year like they did with Dobbins last year, and they didn't. And they're even talking about him playing in the preseason. All of this is very encouraging. So I think they're going to bring him along slow like they did with Saquon, like they did with J.K. Dobbins, and Piron's going to be involved and, all that stuff. But, this team likes to run. He's got a 7th, 8th round price tag in 12-team leagues. I've seen him get steamed up a little bit to the 6th in some cases, but I think he's definitely worth a shot. And I've been doing underdog drafts with 0 RB. And I think in one draft, I took him as my first running back in the 8th round. And I was like, if he pays off, he could certainly be an RB1. He's still got top 5 upside. And he, really, really encouraging stuff for him. So I'm way more in than I would have been at this time, maybe a couple months ago.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. And I guarantee if he does get any playing time in the preseason, he needs one explosive run, one 20-yard run, and his ADP is going to jump 3 or 4 rounds.
Yeah, no doubt.
We see that healthy.
Yeah, a year ago, he was RB3.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like that's still in there.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's go back to the 6th round here because there's 2 guys I want to talk about in this round. Let me just give the recap first. Amari Cooper, Travis Etienne, Lamar Jackson, Devontae Adams, Najee Harris, and Josh Jacobs. Is those last 2 guys. Najee Harris coming off of what we know last year with the Liz Frank and had a struggled in the beginning of the year. And then Josh Jacobs, not really injury related. So I'll ask you, Ryan, about Josh Jacobs. But Najee Harris, Doc, give me your thoughts on his Liz Frank injury from last year and is he fully healthy?
Yeah, so I'm kind of turning into a Najee Harris apologist because it seems like the hate has gone too far with him, I think. So people don't really respect the fact that he had a Liz Frank injury that he played through last year. It happened in training camp. And, he had a rookie QB, he had a crappy O-line. Basically, all the cards were stacked against him, and he still rushed for over 1,000 yards, and he had 10 TDs. So basically, that's his floor. And barring another worse injury, I don't really see why everybody's so pessimistic. I know people throw around like he's inefficient and stuff like that. Again, he was running on a torn ligament in his foot. So that should be healed. We saw with Travis Etienne a couple of years ago, the recovery rate for those where they return to their previous level of functioning greater than 90%. So I know Jaylen Warren is there, but the offense should be better. Kenny Pickett should be better. For where he's going, I don't know if he's got upside to be like a top 5 running back, but he could certainly be well within RB1 territory. And if you can get him in the 4th round, I think that's still going to be pretty valuable. I know that's like a not sexy take, but it's production and opportunity and production are still the name of the game in fantasy football.
Pure volume.
Yep, 100%. Me and Ryan are on the same boat with you as well. We're getting Najee Harris wherever we can get him because he had a good season for as down as everybody thinks they were. It was actually a pretty decent season last year, especially if you look at his last 8 games. He was RB6 over the last 8 games. Ryan, give me your thoughts on this Josh Jacobs situation here. What do you think is going to happen here?
Dude, I have no idea because you've heard Dobbins came back, Jonathan Taylor kind of back, even though they're letting him take the personal days, and it looks like they're trying to move him. Vegas feels like they're at a pure standstill and don't want to help at all. And I'm honestly scared about it for him. That Le'Veon Bell season is kind of showing. This dude had 500 touches or 400 plus touches last year,
something like that.
Yeah,
and I don't blame him for holding out, man. Protect your body. I know it never works out for running backs, but dude, I think it's gonna be ugly there, and I don't really want parts of that offense anyway. So I'm not really willing to take the chance.
Yeah, that offense is going to be pretty not so great if Jacobs is not there. And
as I took Devontae Adams in this draft, but I really don't want pieces of this. I legit don't want pieces of this offense.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. All right, moving into the 7th round, Jerry Jeudy, Joe Mixon, Keenan Allen, TJ Hawkinson, Mike Williams, Christian Watson. Nothing major there. Jerry Jeudy's got a little bit of injury concern, but I want to get to this next round here because this is the guy I want to talk about. George Kittle, Joe Burrow, Terry McLaurin, Drake London, Darren Waller, and DJ Moore. 2 guys there, one with a recent injury, Mr. Joe Burrow, and then Darren Waller, just an overall injury concern over the last couple of years. What are your thoughts on these 2 guys, Doc?
Yeah, so with Joe Burrow, he strained his calf in late July, assuming that it's a grade 1 or the lowest grade injury. That could cost you 3 to 4 weeks. Grade 2 can be up to 2 months. So it's kind of good news, bad news. The bad news is he might actually miss a couple of weeks to start the year. And I know there was some reports of Jamar Chase was encouraging him, take your time, come back 100%, be healthy. We don't need you week 1, week 2 against whoever. We need you down the stretch and we need you going into the playoffs. And I think that's really good advice. And that may actually happen, but that's the good news is that I don't think, I do think that when he does come back, he's going to be the same guy as ever for those money games down the stretch and going into the playoffs. So if you draft him, I'm still drafting him in the same spot. And if he misses the first 2 or 3 weeks of the year, I'll figure it out. I don't care. I want him back for the money games when it really counts.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ryan, if I told you Darren Waller's going to play a healthy 17 games this year, where are you drafting him in your leagues right now?
If he's playing all 17 games, and I can't believe you brought injury-prone players in that round and skipped George Kittle. We'll just bring 49ers bias up for that. But, dude, he's the only – I've said this on this show, I feel like, ad nauseum. He's the only person on that team over 6 foot. He's enormous. He's their red zone threat. He should have a huge year there. He's a top 5 tight end on that team.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I'm with you.
I would say he's right after Mark Andrews. If you told me you got your crystal ball out and you're he's going to be healthy the whole year, I think I would take him basically right after Mark Andrews.
Yeah,
and before everybody else, before Kyle Pitts, before Hawkinson, before Kittle, without question. So that's the upside that you're shooting for. And now that he's going in the 6th, 7th round, I think he's definitely worth a shot. And if he gets hurt, he gets hurt. You got to figure it out. It's football. But if he's playing and he's out there, he's probably their de facto number 1 target. He's essentially East Coast Travis Kelce.
Yeah, exactly. All right, round 9, we got Breece Hall, Dallas Goedert, Aaron Jones, Justin Fields, Brandon Ayuk, and Chris Godwin. And that first name that I mentioned, Breece Hall, I thought it was funny. He's on the PUP list. They signed Dalvin Cook. All of a sudden, he's off the PUP list. It's almost he's I better get back to work. I might lose.
No, I'm good. Coach.
What are your thoughts on Breece Hall? You think he's a full go week 1, or do you think they ease him in?
I think the Jets have aspirations with all the moves they made. They want to make the playoffs. They want to try to do something here with Aaron Rodgers joining the squad and the other guys. So, he had a less complex tear than Javonte Williams did, and he injured at about the same time. It was late October. He's about 9 months out right now, which is kind of the floor for ACL injuries, where teams know that if they bring players back before 9 months, their risk of re-injury goes way up. So they're smart enough not to do that. Once you kind of hit the 9-month threshold, that's when you can really start to think about these guys coming back. I think they're going to ramp him up slow. They're going to do like they did with Saquon Barkley. And, the thing with Saquon Barkley from a couple years ago when he's post-ACL that we forget about was after a couple of games, he really started to look good, really started to look like Saquon of old, Saquon that we saw last year. But he had that fluke injury where he stepped on the guy's foot. He sprained his ankle. His ankle blew up to like the size of my head. He never really recovered from that. And that was kind of it. And it was like we kind of forgot that he was like on his way back. We could see that with Breece Hall, where he's slow out of the gate. And then as things go on, towards the end of the year, Dalvin Cook is there, but Dalvin Cook isn't exactly known for his durability. And then in the money rounds, down the stretch going into the playoffs, Breece Hall could be full speed ahead. And Dalvin Cook could just kind of, dislocate his shoulder. He's, playing a secondary role. He's not really doing much. And it's the Breece Hall show. And he's crushing it going into, the money down the stretch and into the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a good call. Ryan, I'll get your thoughts on the side with Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall and how that dynamic works out. And are you worried? I mean, Dalvin Cook got a pretty sizable contract. I think $7 million guaranteed.
I think $8.
Yeah,
$8 total.
Yeah.
I think it's a full-blown committee there. I think they ran the ball like a little bit over 420 times last year. It's not going to be I don't think their ceilings for these two are going to be high. I think they're both going to flirt with RB3, RB2, like low-end RB2 range, unless one goes down.
Absolutely. You just said it right there. Okay, it's week 7. Dalvin Cook dislocates his shoulder. He's out for a month and a half. Breece Hall is there by himself now or whatever.
RB1.
Where do you rank Breece Hall?
He's a top 12 running back then.
Bingo. That's
vice versa.
That's what you're drafting.
Vice versa. Either way, you're at their price. They're depressed. I'm taking the chance on Dalvin at their current prices.
Yeah, why not? Because the opposite could happen too. That's the whole point of the exercise. Is if he's going in the 4th round now. I seen Breece Hall get pushed down into the 5th round. He's got top 5 upside still. But everything works out and it's coming in week 12, Dalvin Cook pulls a hammy or something like that, and now it's Breece Hall show with a Hall of Fame quarterback back there. Yeah, sign me up for that. Like I'll figure it out while they're doing their committee thing till week 6. But I'll take my chances if one of them goes down. That he really could, you really could have something going down the stretch. So that's the exercise I want to encourage people to do. I see in the chat, I'm completely off Breece and redraft. Get back in, baby. The price is down. The blood is flowing in the streets. Take a shot.
Never be off any player.
Exactly.
Like every player has a price.
Yeah.
Like
the $1 million
there's always
man
a place they'll drop to where they're worth getting.
Yeah, I was gonna say be off Breece Hall at where he was going
Not now.
But not now. He's dropped a little bit. He's definitely worth the price of admission for sure. And that team's going to run a lot. They want to run the ball, play good defense. So I think that's going to be a good situation to have there. All right, let's move into the 10th round here. Debo, Kyle Pitts, Miles Sanders, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, and Deontay Johnson. And the name that stands out to me is Miles Sanders, picked by both me and Ryan to be a guy that's going to get a ton of volume this year. Injured already, though. So that's going to be the caveat for him is to stay healthy. What are your thoughts on Miles Sanders going into the season?
This one sucks because I'm going to throw a wet blanket on the whole Miles Sanders as a 3-down back, like big volume guy. So that was kind of the whole thing with him. Like he's kind of like a dead zone running back, right? Like the whole thing with them is the way I look at dead zone running backs is these are guys that are like opportunity based. And if they don't get the volume, then they don't pay off, right? So where Miles Sanders was going, it was based on this premise that he was going to like be a 3-down back, get all the carries, get all the catches. And now that he's got this injury, that really brings a lot of that into question. So with his injured groin, they're talking about maybe he's back, maybe he's not. He could be out for the whole preseason, but are they going to ramp him right out of the gate and just all fire on all cylinders and he gets all the carries and all the catches? I don't think so, at least not to start. So that really throws a lot of cold water on his whole like outlook as being like this guy who's going to emerge from the dead zone running back area. So now I'm kind of out at cost because I just don't think he's going to get the opportunity and the volume to start. And it may never come. Chuba Hubbard may get a foothold in there and they may just decide that they want to run a committee. And then you drafted a dead zone running back and you're crying in your beer over it.
And can I double down on the poo-poo on Miles Sanders? Maybe it's from the preseason game. Maybe it's from watching Hard Knocks. But seeing it a lot, that Panthers offensive line is absolute garbage. They were just getting demolished. I will be surprised if Bryce Young survives this season if he starts from week 1. and that doesn't make me feel good about a running back, especially on a team where you have no wide receivers who are worth respecting. It's a bad team.
It's tough.
Yeah,
Like,
you don't
especially in
want
the 6th round, 6 rounds, early 7th. Like, nah, I'm taking Javonte Williams. I'm taking somebody else. Like, I'm not. Opportunity cost is too high in that range.
It's just J.K. Dobbins is going around there. Like,
I can't do it. I'll take any of those guys. Like we talked about, acquisition costs pretty high, opportunity costs very high. There's a lot of good players going there, and I don't want to miss out on those guys because I'm taking Miles Sanders and crossing my fingers.
Yeah. He might be my biggest follower in the last month.
I'm kind of with you on that one, and I like him, and I was kind of drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit, but that Kool-Aid is poison.
That offensive line is so bad. They showed on Hard Knocks when Quinn Williams had 11 sacks in one practice session.
That's insane.
And it was every single play he just blew up their guard and was in the backfield in his face. It was so disgusting. Their offensive line's terrible.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing with Miles Sanders too is, changing teams. One thing that we always said when he's with Philly was his efficiency was really good. I think famously 2 years ago, he had averaged over 5 yards per carry and didn't score a touchdown, which was like unheard of. And, he had this great efficiency where he can get fewer carries and still be good. Whereas with the Panthers, that efficiency is not going to be there because you can mention the offensive line's not good. The offense is not supposed to be good. They got a rookie quarterback. It's going to be a lot more tough for him to try to make things happen with fewer touches. So if he's not getting the volume, I'm definitely out on Miles Sanders.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I see Josh in the chat here. He said Breece Hall's ADP's in the 3rd round. I know on Underdog, his ADP's falling. He's like in the 4th, 5th round in some cases. So I'm out on Breece Hall in the 3rd round, but I'm in on Breece Hall in the 4th or the 5th round. So that's kind of the difference. Like previously you said, I'm completely off Breece in redraft. Well, completely off and off in the 3rd round are two different things. So that's kind of what we talked about with the opportunity cost. Like what am I passing up in the 3rd round versus there you go. I'll buy in the 5th, not the 4th. All right, well there you go. Now you're not completely off them. So we're changing minds, we're changing lives out there. We're educating people. So
he's at 38.6 right now overall.
Good for you. Well, Josh, just to be clear, you said I'm completely off Breece Hall and redraft. So that doesn't mean at cost. That means I'm completely off. Means I'm not taking the guy. So I don't want to get into semantics with you, but you said it, not me.
38 still a little high.
Yeah, I think what are you looking at? Which site are you on?
That's on Underdog, or that's on the 4for4's Underdog ADP. Has it at 38.6.
It's fallen though, because it was end of the 3rd. It was like 34. Now it's going to 38. Semantics, baby. Yeah. That's what I do. I'm a radiologist. I talk through reports. Words are important. You know what I'm saying? Anyway.
All right, let's talk about round 11 here because there's a bunch of guys here that I want to talk about. Round 11 was Dameon Pierce, Kenneth Walker, Christian Kirk, J.K. Dobbins, Javonte Williams, Cam Akers. We talked about Williams already. Let's talk about Kenneth Walker and the injury that he had. And you had a note in the show sheet there about Pete Carroll. I want you to talk about Pete Carroll too.
Never trust Pete Carroll's injury reports. That's lesson number 1 of injury analysis. Whatever Pete Carroll says, just completely discounted, or maybe even better, do the opposite. But let's talk about what actually happened. So he injured his groin at the end of July. Now he's back at practice doing individual work. And he's doing like some drills and things like that. And running is nice, but we need to see him cut and move and, get into some action before we can feel any sort of comfort here, because that's what happens with the groin. Like you're running a straight line, you're not engaging those muscles. When you're planting and you're cutting and you're doing all the things that you want a running back to do, that's when you can re-injure it. So the thing about him was he was risky enough when he was healthy, and Zach Charbonnet was there, who parenthetically is going 4 or 5 rounds later than him in most drafts. But with the added risk of recurrence and the opportunity cost, like he was a 5th round pick and he hasn't really moved that much, despite the fact that he has this injury. At cost, I got to be out. Like if his price dropped a little bit, then you might be able to entice me back in. But if he's going in the 5th round, again, what do I have to give up in order to get him? I'd rather just take Charbonnet in the 9th, and he's playing. Like he's back. His shoulder injury is not a thing as far as we can tell. Like that's the way I'm playing it.
Yeah, it was funny because we did a show when they were both injured, and the note on Charbonnet was indefinitely.
Yeah,
and I said on the show that indefinitely could mean tomorrow, and sure enough, the very next day he came off of indefinitely. He was already ready to play. So yeah, never trust Pete Carroll for sure.
Never.
The other guy I want to talk about, Ryan, I'm gonna go to you in this one. J.K. Dobbins finally reports to camp. What is your thoughts on Dobbins? Is it wheels up at this point?
I think it's wheels up. I mean, it's going to be a committee because you can't ignore Gus Edwards because of how well he plays. But if you look at the track record for the offensive coordinator back when he was in Cleveland, he ran the shit out of Nick Chubb. When he has a horse, he uses them. And J.K. Dobbins, if Baltimore wants him to stay in Baltimore, they're going to give him the ball because he's electric. He can make great plays. He's gotten healthy. I'm very excited about Dobbins. He annoys me more than any player in the league right now, but I'm really excited to watch him play football.
Yeah, I've got a trade offer out there right now, and hopefully he's not watching the show. But I got a trade offer that he's in my own Discord asking trade questions with our trade. And I'm looking at it trying to figure out if these guys are going to agree with me or not. But I'm trying to get that J.K. Dobbins in one of my main leagues. So
I am more comfortable with him than any running backs that went rounds 9 on in this draft. Like, I'm more comfortable drafting him in that offense than a lot of the running backs who went before him.
Yeah, like we talked about Miles Sanders. What about Aaron
Miles
Jones?
Sanders, even Breece Hall, Aaron Jones. I thought about Aaron Jones. I'm like, I'm just gonna wait a little bit and get JK. I love Javonte Williams' upside. I think he has maybe more upside, but I'm more comfortable with JK at this point. Same with Walker and Dameon Pierce. I think it's a nice floor play. But
speaking of guys going in that range, I want to ask you guys, just to get a sense, because I know I have my opinion, but I've talked about him a lot. But the guy going in that range as well is Cam Akers. So what are your guys' thoughts on Cam Akers and what you're, taking out of, like, there's been a lot that's been said about him, and it seems like people are all over the map on him, although for the most part, it's generally positive. Like, what do you guys think?
If he's involved in the passing game, which I think he should be, I like Cam Akers because bad offensive line, Matt Stafford not mobile, he has to dump the ball off. That's a good sign for Cam Akers in PPR leagues. I don't think he's going to be efficient because, again, I think that team's bad all around on that offense. But he should be involved, even if he doesn't get 220 carries because they trust other people in that offense.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he's going to be involved in the passing game. And, we've seen Matt Stafford be a check-down quarterback in the past when he was with the Lions. A guy by the name of Theo Riddick, I think, once caught 100 balls from Matthew Stafford. I think Cam Akers could sort of be in that range. Not quite 100 balls, but I think he can be that check-down guy. Who's their backup? It's like Zach Evans.
Zach Evans, maybe the ghost of Kyron Williams. I don't know.
Yeah, so I think Akers gets. I think it's going to be a volume play, similar to what you talked about earlier, Miles Sanders. It'll be a volume play for sure.
I still don't like his price, if we're going to be honest.
Okay, that's what I wanted to question.
If we're talking, I'd rather take the chance later on Rachaad White, who is in a bad situation by now, is getting the ball, or James Cook, who's in a good situation, and they didn't really bring anybody other than Damian Harris 3 rounds later. I would much rather take chances on those guys than him.
I think it's an opportunity cost for me. I just want to touch on it real quick because Cam Akers is one of the guys I get the most heat on because they're like, oh, he's back. He's back from his. So here's the thing: he had his Achilles repaired. He's never going to be fully recovered. His Achilles is never going to be the way that it was before. That doesn't mean he can't be a good NFL running back. We've already seen that twice, but not for a full season since his injury. Even last year, that points per game finish was propped up by a 33.7 half PPR explosion in week 16. Those other 5 weeks between 10.8 and 18.5 points per game, which is good. But talking about catching the ball, he had 11 catches in those 6 games total, which, by the way, is only 11 more catches than I did. So those games also last year, they didn't mean dick. Stafford was out. Kupp was out. Allen Robinson was dead on arrival. The whole team was in shambles. Baker freaking Mayfield was the quarterback for some of those games. And then there was that whole drama between him and McVay where it looked like he was going to get cut and they were going to make, what's his name? Darrell Henderson was going to be the running back. And now I think Darrell Henderson's applying to sell insurance with you, Ryan. But either way, there's so many things here that could go bad. And that's if he actually stays healthy, which parenthetically he may not, because as we talked about for the whole show, football is a dangerous sport. So, 7th, 8th round, all those other guys that you mentioned, I would take them. I'm sprinkling him in when he falls just in case I'm wrong, but I'm not super enthusiastic like some people seem to be. So, hate me for it if you want, but that's what the doc says.
I would rather take the chance on DeAndre Swift. I'd rather take the chance on Javonte Williams, who are both going under him. James Cook is after him. Yeah, Rachaad White is after him. He's at 68. These guys are all after 80.
Yeah, I can't do it. I can't do
like
it.
Javonte Williams is 77 overall. So we're talking almost 10 spots below, 9 spots below him, and all these other guys I named are more than that. I would much rather take a chance on any of them. Like, he should be below them. I'd rather take a chance on Pachenko at 90.
Yeah.
All right, now you're getting a little out of hand there because he's not back from his 2 surgeries that he had. He's not even cleared for contact for another couple of days. I'm still very trepidatious about what's going on there. Not saying he can't come back, not saying he can't be good, not saying he won't be involved, but I got to see something from him because his price tag, like he's in the same range, 8th round, something like that. Like that's way too risky.
He's at 90 overall.
Okay, well, still, that's still too much. Like opportunity cost wise, there's still too many other good guys going there. If it was double-digit rounds, okay, maybe you talk me into it a little bit. But I still have this belief that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is still kind of lurking, and if he's not ready, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire is he's back from all these other issues, he could still be involved. Whoever the running back is going to be very good. But if I have the option of taking Isaiah Pacheco, from my alma mater, Rutgers University, by the way, in the 8th round or the 9th round, or I could take Clyde Edwards-Helaire with my last pick. I'll take my shot with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I'll figure out somebody else in the 8th or 9th round.
Fair. All right, let's group some guys together that we have on the list here. We're just going to go down the list that I got. So I got 3 receivers that are younger guys that have dealt injuries basically their entire career. We just kind of group them together here. Elijah Moore, Rashad Bateman, Kadarius Toney. Give me your thoughts on those 3 guys, Doc. All
right, let's start with Kadarius Toney. I'm out at cost. Like, I know he's got the electric potential. As far as like the off the field stuff, like I'm not convinced that he's not a complete knucklehead. That's a strike against him. But just as far as like he's going to be one of those guys, like if he's healthy, like he could be amazing. But is he actually going to be healthy for any stretch of time? He may give you 4 games where he's electric and then he disappears. That's great, but not at like a 6th, 7th, 8th round price that I've been seeing him go at. Rashad Bateman, I'm not really worried about him at all. Like he had his foot injury last year. He's been snake bit a little bit, but the potential is still there. The injection doesn't really worry me. Like I think he's going to be fine. If something else comes out where he's back to not practicing or has another setback, that would change things. And then Elijah Moore, I was really, really excited about Elijah Moore. I still kind of am. The only thing that worries me a little bit is because he had the rib injury. We've seen this many times. I've been on the shows with you guys, with other guys. It's like they get x-rays and the x-rays are negative, right? Well, rib fractures, if they're not displaced, they're knocked out of the way, are really hard to see on an x-ray. Not a lot of people know that. So sometimes you got to get a CAT scan, you got to get an MRI to really see it. And you find out, it turns out the ribs are he's got 4 broken ribs or he tore cartilage and now he's going to be out for a longer period of time. So we haven't heard anything there. I'm not anticipating that we're going to get bad news, but I'm also been down this road enough times where just because the x-rays are negative, I need to kind of see the player back out there, get some confirmation that he's not still dealing with pain, that there's not really something going on out there because there might be.
All right. Ryan, I'm going to go to you on these 2 guys. These guys are injury risks, and I can get Doc's opinion here too, but I want your thoughts on these 2 older receivers and what are you doing with these Michael Thomas and OBJ here, 2 guys that have dealt with injuries their entire career. Are you drafting any of these guys in redraft leagues?
I mean, at their prices at the end of 9th and 10th, if they fall past that, possibly. Michael Thomas, man, I don't trust him. Like, I don't know if he's healthy. I don't know if he's ever really been hurt. I don't know if he's actually ever really been healthy. I know nothing about Michael Thomas. I don't trust him. He's very upsetting. OBJ, just because I've watched so much Ravens camp, like it's the only thing I do while I'm at work. Glad no one I know watches, but like and he's gonna be a part of that offense. They love him. And he's going to be the number 1 or 2 receiver there.
So you're on the clock. You're on the clock, and these 2 guys are the only ones available. Which one you taking?
Maybe OBJ, just because at this point I don't care as a fandom, even though my brain tells me it should be Michael Thomas. I think they're kind of a coin flip. But, man, I think OBJ's going to have to roll in Baltimore. And like you mentioned Bateman before, I think Bateman's 4th in targets on the team.
He very well could be, and you could flip flop that, and depends on who's healthy on what week. But I kind of agree with what you said. I think when they I'm not going out of my way to draft them, but I'm also not avoiding them either. Like if they slip because other people don't want them, yeah, I'll take them because they could still produce. Like Michael Thomas could very easily, recapture some of the magic of old. Like he's essentially poisoned the well because he's been so bad for so long. People forgot how good he was.
Yep.
And the last time we saw OBJ, he was winning a Super Bowl. So I know he's older, and I know that like these are unsexy picks. Like no one's going to feel great about drafting these guys, but that's the beauty of it is they can still be really productive. And when the acquisition cost is down, then they become really valuable. If you have to reach and you got to draft them higher, then it becomes more of an issue.
Unsexy wins fantasy leagues.
Unsexy wins fantasy
leagues. Those boring picks of guys like that, of like Adam Thielens and like players like that, they win leagues because you can play them when everybody's hurt.
So Doc, you got your book. I think Ryan's book should come out, and that should be the title of his book: "Unsexy Wins Fantasy Leagues." All right, I want to get to one more guy here. We're going to skip all the way down to the bottom of that list because,
of course,
I got to bring up Brock Purdy with the elbow. He's fully cleared now. Yeah. He's practicing. I'm not so much worried about him as a fantasy option. I'm more worried about the pieces around him. Any worry with Brock Purdy re-injuring that elbow?
Not really. I mean, it's like, I don't think he's at any more risk than anybody else in the NFL. I mean, Josh Allen came really close to having the exact same injury. I mean, we're talking about like a couple more millimeters or, Jack Nicholson from The Shining, a couple extra pounds per square inch. And he tears his elbow ligament the exact same way. So, football's a dangerous sport. He cocks his arm back. Somebody hits him the same way, he could tear it again. But as far as him throwing the football, delivering the football, it's not like a pitcher where they have to go through this extensive rehab. It's a different throwing motion, different mechanics. I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be really productive in that offense. And I think he could, surprise some people and carry forward some of that success because they don't ask him to do that much. And what they ask him to do, he's really good at. Yeah. So he could lead that offense really well. And just the tie into that is Trey Lance. I don't think Trey Lance is a bad football player by any way, stretch, or form. I just don't think he's a good fit for that offense. And I think the coaches, there may be personality issues there, there are ego issues, whatever. But I don't think it has to do with his football acumen. If you airdrop Trey Lance onto another team, I think he's basically like Justin Fields light. But on the 49ers, it's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. It's like a bad relationship. They just need to go their separate ways. And, I wish them both happiness in the future, but it's not going to work. It's not going to work out for either of them together.
Yeah.
It's not like it's not like the 49ers traded Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and Bradley Chubb for him.
No, but they got Brock Purdy. So it's like, it works out. Sometimes you find yourself in a good place and you don't know how you got there. That sounds like a lot of nights in college when I stumbled home drunk from the bars. It's like, oh, I made it home. I don't know how it happened, but I'm here.
It all works out.
It all works out.
The cost has been paid. Now it's all about just whatever we can get. And yeah, for what it's worth, I don't think Shanahan wanted Trey Lance. I think Trey Lance was forced upon him. I think he wanted Mac Jones, honestly. And I think Mac Jones fits more of what Shanahan would want to do. Very similar quarterback to Brock Purdy. Just do what you're told. Just this is where the read goes. Throw the ball there with timing, and good things will happen. I think Trey Lance,
McCorkle would have thrived.
Yeah, I think he would have been good there. I didn't want him. I was very much on record saying I did not want Mac Jones.
I know you did because I kept saying
I remember that.
Yeah, so all right, let's get to our last segment of the night.
Get ready for goingfor2.com's Forgotten Fantasy Player of the Week.
All right, Doc, I don't know if you've been on since we've changed this segment.
Oh, what are you guys talking about? I watch every week. I comment on the shows. It's like, I'm here, baby.
Good stuff. So I'm really curious to hear what your forgotten fantasy player is. What are your hints to give us here?
Okay, cool. Well, before we do that, can I just throw one more bounce back out there, like injury-wise? Like maybe we get some at the end if we want, but I want to mention this guy. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention him. Gabe Davis. So he had a high ankle sprain last year. I think it affected him all year. Josh Allen's UCL injury definitely affected his ability to throw the deep ball at the end of the year. So both of those things kind of combined to have an impact on his whole game. And everybody's just out on him. They're like, he sucks. Like, this is the same guy 2 years ago that caught 4 touchdowns in a playoff game and was getting steamed up to like the 3rd and 4th round in underdog drafts. He could easily bounce back on that offense. Like, I want pieces of that Buffalo offense. I don't care who it is. Like, give me whoever. but definitely give me Gabe Davis at a depressed price because he could easily bounce back and be a wide receiver 2 this year. Okay. Boom. Gabe Davis, love fest over.
I agree there. I just want to chime in. I think last year we were drafting him too high. I think this year they're drafting him too low. I think he's somewhere in the middle. I think he's still a good player. I know Ryan's not a fan of Gabe Davis.
No, I love his price now. I
Yeah,
slandered him last year.
Yeah, and
I spent my entire
offseason
offseason slandering him.
The price was too. He was like the poster child for recency bias. Like you know, like last year the price is too high, now the price is too low. So now's when you buy.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay, so here we go. So first hint, he played for the Alabama Crimson Tide and was drafted in the 4th round of the 2007 NFL Draft.
Eddie Lacy.
No.
Okay.
Moving on.
Okay.
He was a 2-time Pro Bowler in 2008 and 2009.
Ron Dane.
No. Decent guess, though. He played for the Chiefs, Chargers, and Ravens in his career.
In that order, or that's just you just gave us the teams?
I just gave you the teams.
Okay. I was like,
Chiefs, Chargers, Ravens. Now I'm upset that I don't know immediately.
oh, you know, I suck at colleges, so that college did nothing.
No, me too.
Not knowing the position is really hurting me because I just keep going to running backs since Alabama.
Yeah, that's what I keep thinking too. I'm thinking running backs as well.
All right, you want another hint?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Give us one more.
He led his team in rushing in 2008 with 902 yards and 10 touchdowns on 232 carries, despite not being drafted as a running back.
That should help. I got
Sure.
That
But
should
does
help.
it? Ooh, I stumped you guys. I'm glad.
You did. Yeah, this is a good one. Was not drafted as a running back. What were the teams again?
Ron McClain.
It is LaRon McClain.
Oh,
Very
nice.
good.
Boom! Fullback, baby.
Nice.
Good
So,
stuff.
in a week, the next hint was in a Week 16 game versus Dallas on December 20, 2008. He rushed for 139 yards and an 82-yard touchdown run to close out the game. And he, along with teammate Willis McGahee, he became the first players in NFL history to rush for 70-plus yard touchdowns on consecutive drives.
Oh, wow. That's a good one. I don't think we've never even had LaRon McClain even mentioned, even when we did just the regular Forgotten Fantasy player.
No, it's because he's a fullback.
Yeah, that's awesome. We've had 3 fullbacks this year with this.
I didn't know that, but
no, that's good. We
it.
didn't get a lot of fullbacks previous. We had
that was good. That was good. Ryan,
would
if you hadn't gotten it on that hint, would you have gotten it with the one about the Dallas game in 2008?
Honestly, no.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I thought that one was it was working through it. I'm like rifling through Ravens backs. His stats from that year are giving up.
It was ridiculous. On a personal note, that 82-yard touchdown run was in the championship week of 2008, and he was my running back 2 who I picked up off the waiver wire earlier because I was desperate for a running back, and that touchdown run put me over the top and won me the championship. So on a personal note, Ron Dane will always have a special place in my not Ron Dane, Ron Dane as well, but a different story. LaRon McClain will always have a special place in my heart for that game.
That was a good one.
Ron Dane went to fucking Wisconsin. And
Yes, he did. I knew that.
I saw the color, like the team colors were the same. I'm just like kind of go through people.
Like I said, the college is nothing for me. When you do give me the colleges, I just throw it out. It's not even a hint anymore.
If you guys didn't get that one, the last hint was his cousin Rolando McClain played as a linebacker in the NFL. So if you didn't get it at that point, I give up. I don't know.
We were hopeless at that point. Good stuff. All right, that wraps the podcast up, Doc. Thank you once again for coming on. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. If you want to quickly plug your book one more time and tell us where we can follow you on Twitter.
Yeah, for sure. Well, guys, this was great. So aside from the book, I'm going to plug something even better. I am actually running the injury channel on the Going for Two Discord, and I'm there all year. And that is the play. I check that multiple times a day. So if you have injury questions, find me there. The Doc's injury channel on the Going for Two Discord. It's free to join, and you have access to me. There's nobody else. It's just me, the Doc, running the injury channel. If nobody has questions, that's cool. Like, I got other stuff to do, but if you got questions, then drop them. I work nights, so you might get an answer at 3:00 in the morning, but I do check it multiple times a day. So whatever the questions are, especially as, training camp ramps up and the season ramps up, then, that's where you can find me. You can find me marginally on Twitter. I'm trying to lower my Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it intake. trying to bring more positivity in my life. But I'm at TFS Doc on Twitter, the Fantasy Sports Doc. And if you like the content that you saw here today, if you like my takes on injury analysis and really trying to help you get better at injury analysis, then check out my book and support me that way. It's available on Amazon. It's available on Audible in audio form. It's called Injuries Suck, but your fantasy team doesn't have to. And I hope it's something that you check out. And my whole goal is to make injury analysis attainable for you, give you some tools to really help you beat up on your league mates, win some championships. That's what I'm all about. So that's it. And thank you guys again. It's always a pleasure to be on here and to be on the Armchair Show. And I had a lot of fun. So thanks for letting me do it.
Absolutely. Ryan, what you got going on?
Oh, same old. Twitter, Foss534. I'm actually active now. It's football season. Fine. I normally it's just draft season, but football season is when I maybe stuff. So that's fine. But it's mainly find me on there. Find me here Wednesday nights. Find me over at the Dynasty Big Board podcast, where we talk everything Dynasty and nonsense.
Good stuff. As always, guys, you can follow me on Twitter at Jeff Lambert77, or you can follow me on X. I guess I gotta get used to saying X and not Twitter.
I refuse to do
No,
it.
I'm not.
Don't give in.
Don't
Do not give in.
Don't do it.
Quit being a follower.
The URL is still twitter.com. So
there you go.
Until they change that, it's still.
Dude, you still read backslashes when you give email addresses. Stop it.
Go find me on Threads, the same one.
Just okay. Just close the show. Play the music. It's done.
All right.
No one cares about Threads.
Doc plugged the Discord already. Definitely go check that out, guys. There's a lot of good things going on over there. You can find it in my Twitter profile. You can also find it at goingfor2.com. There's a little link at the bottom. So go check that out. Got some good things going on over there. For Ryan, for Jim, I'm Jeff, and we will see y'all next week.